Hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. And I'm super excited to be joined by an amazingly talented actress in the form of Amelia Bishop. How are you?
Great. With an intro like that, Matthew, how could I not be? Thank you so much.
Now, so much to talk to you about. I mean, obviously, recently appearing in Neighbours, we will talk about that. You've got a brand new film out, we will talk about that. But I wanted to start off by finding out kind of where the love of acting, where did that come from for you? Do you remember kind of your earliest memories of getting into acting and knowing that that was what you wanted to do?
Yeah, my first thought, it's quite funny, always goes back to Austin Powers in the 90s. Like, I remember watching that with my parents and just thinking it was so funny and imitating it a lot and, going to the cinema to see the second one. And I think, look, I went to three different primary schools as a kid because we moved states. So I was quite shy and I had to like start again a lot of times. And then, when the play kind of acting happened, I wasn't so shy anymore. And I felt there was something just like in it for me. And it was, I don't know, it was the scariest thing I could think of doing, but I just loved it so much. And in the last 10 years, I guess, I've just persisted and I, have had little wins. And then, I've got something like this now, which is really awesome. And yeah, it's such a cool medium. So to be able to do it and make a living out of it is a real privilege. Yeah.
I mean, I imagine, when you're, getting into the world of acting, and I know quite a few actors are quite shy individuals deep down. Do you find
Yeah.
it's quite a great way to give you confidence to get out there, meet people, talk to people? Is it quite helpful in that way?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think anybody can benefit from doing it, whether it's an acting class or yeah, because it's that concept of play. Um, and you'll discover things about yourself you might not have known otherwise. And I think it's a really interesting medium that, like, when you watch other actors in any, you know, like whether it's a play or a film or on television, it's almost got, this like sometimes more intimacy than you have in life. So it gives you permission, I would say, to be obviously vulnerable, but just explore different parts of yourself. And I think it can really build your confidence. Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, who were the people, the actors that you looked up to in your younger years when you were kind of getting into that industry? Who were the people that you looked at and thought, I want a bit of what you've got, sort of thing?
Oh God. Well, I think yeah, like immediately I think of comedians like, Eddie Murphy and Robin Williams and as I said, Mike Myers, but obviously strong female leads as well. Action stars like Charlize Theron, Angelina Jolie. Like you look when you get to see like a strong female lead, which we see more often now in drama, not just action. That's really inspiring to me. And uh, God, yeah, Tilda Swinton. Like I can think of so many people, and then the minute you get asked, your mind goes blank. Yeah.
Now, obviously, we will talk about your latest project in a minute, which looks fantastic, but we have to talk a bit about Neighbours. And obviously, you got to appear in the show earlier this year. What was that? Because obviously, Neighbours is such a huge show, all around the world. So
Mm.
how did you become a part of it, and how did the role of Gretchen come your way?
Well, I'd auditioned quite a few times before securing Gretchen's role. So Thea McLeod, who's really lovely, has obviously been casting Neighbours for like over 10 years. She's also head of the CGA. So I think that, she'd watched my work and if something came in that she thought suited me, she would ask me to tape. Um, and then I guess this just really fit, which is a very different role to Jeet in Ice Road. But I'm really lucky that I got to just get in there on the tail end because obviously Neighbours is finished now, which is a huge shame. It's a really amazing television show and has been for the Australian industry for such a long time. So yeah, it was really cool that I just got to see what that was like right before it ended and have that experience.
And I mean, getting to say join the cast for like we said, just a short while, but that must have been quite an honor. And I mean, were you a fan of the show beforehand? Had you watched it much?
I'd watched bits and pieces. Obviously, there's so many Australian icons that have been on it, and my co-stars who were just brilliant as well. But I'd seen bits and pieces. I hadn't followed religiously, But obviously, yes, definitely a fan. I'm from Melbourne as well, so uh, yeah, it's cool for any local actor to end up on a show like Neighbours. Yeah.
And I imagine as well, it must have been, that bit more special because, I say, it's now ended. So you kind of got to jump in before it disappeared. I mean, obviously, fingers crossed. Hopefully, it would come back in the future. But would
Maybe.
if it ever did come back in the future, would you like to kind of delve back into the role of Gretchen and find out more about her?
Yeah, of course. I feel like, because it ended rather quickly, we didn't really get to tie up a lot of that storyline. Um, so I would 100% put my hands up to jump back in. And Lloyd Will, who plays my brother, my long lost brother in there, we had really great chemistry. So I'd love to do more scenes with him, whether it's in Neighbours or something else. Like we've still stayed in touch. So 100%.
And I mean the friction that was sort of coming in there between Wendy and your character, that I think would have been quite
Yeah.
interesting to see a bit more. I mean, Candice is one of the nicest people you could ever meet. So I
Oh,
imagine
yeah, definitely.
when you've got to play that kind of rivalry, I suppose you could say, that must be quite
Yeah.
difficult when you're, competing with someone who's just so nice.
It is, but I think it becomes quite fun. You sort of discover that you like playing with each other because there's even a chemistry in that when there's like tension. And Candace, yes, is absolutely gorgeous in person. Um, so like when you build that sort of trust with each other and you're joking around, it can be quite fun. Um, but yeah, I think maybe the first time was quite spicy with her. I felt, you feel a little bit guilty for a second, then you have a bit of a laugh, and it's all fun and games. So yeah.
Now, obviously, going from a show like Neighbours to, the film we've been talking about, Ice Road Vengeance, very
Mhm.
different characters. So, I mean, that must have been an absolute joy to be a part of. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, tell us a bit about the film and who you play.
So I played Jeet. Jeet is one of the mercenaries, an international assassin, I guess, who takes over the Mount Everest tour bus and comes up against Mike McCann, Liam Neeson's character. So yeah, going from a nurse in the beaches, on the coast in Melbourne, which was actually after I did Ice Road, though, to be honest. Very, very different worlds, and both really fun in completely different ways. I absolutely loved doing Jeet, obviously on a big American budget film to shoot something like this in my hometown of Melbourne and to go to Nepal is like, an amazing experience. And I got to work with some amazing people like the stunt team of the backbone of action movies. They're incredible. My stunt double, stunt coordinators. Uh, I got to train with Richard Norton as well, who, bless his soul, became a dear friend of mine and unfortunately passed this year. And I didn't even know who he was until I got to train with him. And he was very generous with his time with me. And, he's one of the best in the martial arts action film world. And yeah, I learned so much. And action movies are just so fun. Yeah.
I mean, getting to train and getting to do that action stuff. It's not something you get to do in, your run of the mill kind of program. It's very
Yeah.
big. And I mean, where do you start? Where do you begin when you're training for that kind of role? I mean, it must be madness trying to get kind of in shape and trying to perfect these moves.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a good question because, I felt that pressure and the director obviously said, get as fit as you can and this is I love your interpretation of the character. And I just took that quite literally. So I did go and see a nutritionist and I got a trainer and I just got as fit as possible. And when I, started actually doing these scenes, it's not just the look of it, but you do have to really be physically fit. Like it's going to be hot. You're going to have to go again and again and again, and your body's going to be tired. And then you've got the drama aspect, and it is just a whole different beast. And I was thriving in it, but I did feel the pressure of that. And it is really fun because it's completely different. Um, so it was definitely like a bit of trial by fire, very quick and rapid. But I had an amazing support team in the stunt group there, and obviously my co-stars and stuff as well. And Liam's really generous. Bing Bing's extremely skilled. She's done over 100 movies. She's worked with Jackie Chan, so it's intimidating, and you want to put your best foot forward. So I threw myself in there, and I knew that was my shot. So I really hope that people, like what I did when they watch it today.
And I mean, obviously, with any kind of action film, it's kind of you could sort of describe it as like a dance routine because it's choreographed. You have to be on
Mm.
point. I mean, that must be so tricky because you've got to memorize it, you've got to get it right. Because if it goes wrong, someone could get hurt. How is that?
Yeah, it's funny. That's what the stunt team kept saying. It is like a dance routine. And like I think, even beforehand, I don't think I was unfit. And, fortunately, Richard Norton himself said you do have a knack for this, which is obviously a plus for me. But yeah, it's not like you can just improvise fight scenes. Or you'll, clock someone in the face or it'll look a bit janky, but it does help to think of it in that way. There are beats to it. Um, the tricky thing is overriding that part of you that really wants to sell it but not connect, and then like slightly slow it down. So I found that in the beginning, because you're treating it as real, and I was really getting into this character, this killer, and so like I'm wanting to just send it. So you got to slightly slow it down. So it's this interesting thing of like relearning and slightly counterintuitive, because you want to sell it as being this real fight or this vicious attack with intention, and then you've just got to, slightly, yeah, no, yeah, disconnect. So, um, I've heard some funny stories of some big names through the stunt team where they panic a little bit, and then they end up hitting one of the stunties, and those guys are just amazing, like, and they're adrenaline junkies, and you can hit a stunty, but a stunty can't hit you. But fortunately, I don't think I ever did. So it's just repetition. Yeah, it's building that confidence. It's like you can come in and feel a bit more confident with your acting at times. Obviously, like it's very intimidating working with movie stars for the first time as well, or just being on any set. But um, when you go into that space, for me, like being very new to stunts and fight choreography, it's just good to have the beginner's mindset and just be like, cool, I'm green here, and then know that. And everybody was very supportive. So I was very, very lucky. And I think showing up that I've worked really hard, they really wanted to support me too. So yeah, you're all on the same team. And then it's the main thing is, Mark Vanslow, our stunt coordinator, he'd be like, have fun. And
I
then you
mean,
go, oh yeah, like this is fun, Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
did you get to do any stunts, or was that something you were quite happy to have the stunt, d doubles there, to sort of save you for that?
Oh, some of them. Some of them in regards to the fights and the weapon use and stuff like that. Some in the car, but then there are obviously, more dangerous things where that's going to be a pretty heavy insurance policy, and um, you really don't want your actors to be injured. So, uh, yeah, my stunt double was amazing and one of my good friends. Um, so things I could do, I did, and things that were going to be obviously a lot more dangerous, yeah, they definitely took on for me.
And obviously, we have to talk about Liam Neeson. I mean, such an
Yeah.
icon in the world of action movies. And I mean, getting to work with him, was that a bit of a pinch me moment? What was he like?
Oh, definitely. He's such a gentleman. The first time I met him, he grabbed my hand, and I thought, "What is he doing?" And he kissed it. He was genuinely so gentle, um, and obviously, yeah, such an icon and very easy to be around. Very generous with his time. He's been doing it a long time, and he has a way that he carries himself around and on set, and you can just see why people love working with him. Uh, yeah, he's very knowledgeable. He's a bit cheeky. He's a bit funny. And he's great to work with. Yeah, I can see why he's still making movies. He's so energetic, he's so strong, and he has an amazing presence. And he is one of those people that he kind of walks onto set and you notice him. He has that movie star quality for sure.
And I mean, his voice works so well for that kind of role as well, because he's just got that gravelly tone about him. You instantly
Yeah,
recognize that voice when you hear him.
yeah, definitely. He's got a great voice, and it is really iconic. So obviously the first time I met him, it was definitely a pinch me moment. Um, and you've probably gathered from the trailer and my character that we're not exactly friends in the film. So anytime we sort of did have an interaction, it was pretty hostile. So before we had proper chats, if he'd see me on set, he'd give me a little bit of a pinch just to acknowledge me or something and say hi. He was quite sweet.
Now, obviously,
Yeah.
the film itself, it hasn't been released here in the UK yet. I know it's released literally, so this is going out on the 3rd of September. So tomorrow, well, at the point of recording this, it's tomorrow, which is when the film's released. So that's here in the UK, also in Australia. But it has had it's had a theatrical release in America. So what's been the sort of the feedback from people who have seen the film? What have you sort of, heard from people, their sort of thoughts on it?
Well, we weren't sure if it was going to have a theatrical release at all because it was always going to streaming. So that was good to just give it a little push in the States, which is really cool. It is an action film, so you get what you expect. It's a lot of fun. I think it just depends on what people are into. So obviously, there's Liam's fans who are going to watch it because they love watching Liam. They know what they're getting, and then they get to see a few new faces in my co-stars Grace, Saksham, or Mahesh, who's actually quite well known, I would say, in The Witcher and some other international shows, and then myself. So um, there's been some mixed reviews, but generally positive around our performances and the thrill of the film. It is like supposed to be just an intense thriller, and there are bits in it that are meant to actually be quite funny. So I think at times it doesn't take itself too seriously as well. Um, but yeah, it comes out here today for us. So my friends and family will get to see it, and I really hope they enjoy it as well.
I mean, it must have been an absolute thrill for you to be a part of the film and I mean, because correct me if I'm wrong, this is your first feature film, am I right in saying? So how was
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Well, I'd done sort of like much smaller things before, and I'm really glad for that because I got to see, not that I hadn't done short films or a couple of shows, but I got to get onto some bigger sets. Like I had a small part on Territory for Netflix and Ladies in Black, and had a day where I worked with Gracie Otto, who's awesome and does so much incredible work. And so I did get to have that kind of first experience of how these sets work and how big they are. And so that when I went into this, I had a little bit of an idea, but I'd never obviously like gone this deep into a character in like such a um, professional format with someone as prominent as Liam. So I think at the after party, I remember Bernard Curry plays Professor Myers, Grace's dad in the film. He said to me, he was really lovely. He was telling me what a great job I did, and he was like, at the beginning, I could tell, you got onto set and you were like, oh wow, this is like quite big, and oh, my role is quite intense, and there is a big focus on me. And he said, I really grew into myself by the end of it, and really took that on. So that was really cool to hear. And I think I did that. Like you've got to get there, and then like you're there for a reason, and it's what you want to do, and then you take up space. And I think the biggest thing is like then just having fun. Like it's such a coveted thing to do, and getting the chance to do that and getting to play for my first role, this, you know, international assassin was absolutely awesome. I had the best time.
I mean,
Yeah.
for a lot of people, that would probably be the bucket list role. I mean, now that you've done that, what's next? What
Yeah.
would you love to do next?
Well, I think what I learned about myself is that I really love action movies. Like I love doing them. So, I've auditioned for a few different things, a few different genres this year, and obviously was on Neighbours. And I'm still waiting to hear back on a couple of things, and I hope that I can keep following this tendril. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if people like it, and yeah, hopefully, look, I would just follow this, but not limit myself to whatever the next thing is. I just love doing it, so we'll see what happens.
And I mean, the amazing thing with being an actor is you're often learning new skills. Like you say, fight
Mhm.
scenes. It's an amazing thing to do because it can bring you into other worlds that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of. I mean, I've interviewed, actors that have, played firefighters in shows or, doctors and it kind of you have to learn about that occupation as part of acting. So you must love the fact that you're sort of learning about other things as well as the acting and all that. You're learning about kind of so many different things that you wouldn't otherwise get to see.
100%. That's one of the things I love about it. It's never going to be the same. Um, And one of my friends said to me many years ago, you know, you seem to be like somebody that just loves learning. And that's definitely true. Like you can always be exposed to something that you wouldn't otherwise consider before. So getting to like, you know, really embody a character who does something that whether it's a little similar to you and you can go deeper, or yeah, you can just expose yourself to some other aspect of life or a skill that you wouldn't before is really, really exciting. And even in this, you know, like the places it can take you. Like I got to go to Nepal the day after we finished shooting. I saw Mount Everest, and you know, I that was like amazing to me. I was so grateful to have that experience, and I would never have even thought of going prior to this film. Um, so yeah, it can kind of open up some really amazing avenues in terms of life experience.
I mean,
Mm.
are there any other sort of places you would love to go and, act, perform? I mean, would you love to do America? What would you love to do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like, you know, every sort of international actor outside of the States knows the States has such a like strong hub in the Western sense of, you know, cinema and film. Definitely, or you know, but at the same time, the UK as well. There's some incredible shows and that come out of the UK. I don't, yeah, like, is there one place in particular? I feel open to anything. You know, even if it's still here in Melbourne, you know, there's also nothing cooler than getting to film an action movie in your own backyard. Um, but yeah, I'm open to whatever's next. I really enjoy seeing that the Australian industry has become stronger and stronger, and I'm hoping and I'm feeling like this will keep building. Um, yeah, so I'm equally excited to shoot internationally again and nationally as well.
I mean, one thing I've definitely noticed in the last, I would say, maybe 10 years since we've seen, the introduction of streamers and stuff like that, there
Mm.
definitely seems to be a lot more Australian drama that's making it all over the world. Because I know that, 10 years ago, you'd have been lucky to have seen, maybe an Australian drama appear on the UK screens or in America. Whereas I do feel that now it's a lot stronger and it is reaching much further, destinations. And the drama's so good. So I don't know why we didn't get to it earlier.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, it's cool that it's growing now, but it does just go to show that there are so many like amazing stories and actors and quality productions that can be made here. And interestingly, I guess one of the perks of COVID was that quite a few productions did end up coming to Australia to shoot. And now we have these like even, you know, more established, bigger studios that are permanent in Queensland. You know, we have the Dockland studios here, and I know there's one either just like finishing or finishing up in WA. Adelaide studios are really beautiful as well, and you know I got the chance to shoot Ladies in Black and Territory there. Um, but yeah, like I really hope to see like just even more fast tracked, bigger productions, local productions. You know, so that yeah, it keeps booming here, keeps growing, and I do feel like it will. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you've played a lot of roles over the years, but would you say Jeet is one of your favorites, or who is your favorite character that you've ever played in your career so far?
It has to be cheap. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, getting to make something my own and like at the time, McGregor casting had it as quite an open role. Like it wasn't limited by ethnicity or gender or anything like that. So getting to put my own spin on that and getting to take control of that character and develop those skills that you're talking about and you know, play this a villain was awesome. You know, like I remember one of my first days coming into the studio and costume kind of had all these different versions of me in these types of costumes. And I was just like, this is so cool. I can't believe this is my job. You know, getting to do all the weapons training and yeah, Jeet 100% so far is my
Now, obviously, people need to check out Ice Road Vengeance. It is out now on Amazon Prime here in the UK and in Australia, New Zealand, various places. So people need to check it out. Also, while you're there, you can check out Neighbours as well because that's available here in the UK to watch on Prime. Amelia, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving up your time.
Oh yeah,
Hopefully we'll get you back on at some point. And yeah, thank you again.
great. Thank you, Matthew. It was lovely to chat to you.